Good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday at 1 o'clock on Facebook Live, and that means it's time for another episode of Get to Know Them. I'm so happy to have you here today. If this is your first time tuning into the show, I am Monica Graves, your host, and this is a show that I created where I get a chance to introduce you to some of the most amazing people I know who are doing wonderful things in the world. And I hope that you'll just sit back, relax, listen to their story, and feel inspired for the rest of the day. So, before I introduce our first guest, I wanted to talk to you about my two sponsors who are both Canadian. First of all, we have Brenda Badome. You can check her out at brendabadome.com. She's an amazing clothing designer located in Toronto, Ontario. I am wearing her lovely top today, and if you check out my social media, you'll see the pants that I have on. Also from Brenda, she does beautiful clothing for women with a great fit. So make sure you check her out. And the second sponsor is, don't laugh, but it's me. It is my business, which is glamjewels.com, GLAMJULZ.com. We create beautiful, one-of-a-kind jewelry for all women, all walks of life, and we do a lot of pieces to support different charities in our community. So there you have it. You've got a couple of things to check out, but before you do that, I want you to listen to this amazing intro, this bio about our guest today, Dawn Pangman. I'm so excited to talk to Dawn. Okay, here we go. Dawn is the founder of ArtHouse, celebrating its 14th anniversary in June 2023, which is coming up. ArtHouse has served over 10,500 young people with 748 programs. Dawn's professional career includes 30 years on Bay Street, and over the last 22 years, he has been involved in the charitable sector as a fundraiser and consultant. He has served on the boards of the Oakville Symphony Orchestra, St. Mildred's Lightboard School, the Oakville Community Foundation, the United Way of Oakville, and the Toronto and National Boards of Canadian Music Competition. Dawn is the recipient of the United Way's Chair Award in 2004, the McPhee Award from the Children's Aid Foundation of Halton, Rotary International Foundation's Paul Harris Award, Oakville's Community Spirit Award in the Arts, and in 2012, he was presented with the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. In 2016, Dawn was honored to be named a life governor of St. Mildred's Lightboard School. Dawn and his wife Judy have raised 5 children and they have 12 grandchildren. I'm delighted to introduce you to Dawn. He's very dedicated and passionate about what he does, and our community just adores him. Everybody put your hands together. Dawn! Woo! I wish I could whistle or something. I'm not that I can clap. How are you, Dawn?
I'm great. Thanks, Monica. Thank you for that lovely introduction. My goodness.
No
I'm,
problem. You have
I'm
done a
very
lot.
flattered. Well,
Uh,
it reads like that, but it doesn't seem like that. You know, it's been awesome. Everything
yeah,
has been so awesome. Yeah.
good. You take each day as it comes, right?
I think so. Look at it
Yeah,
optimistically, and we've got lots of things to be excited about, and obviously we can look back and say it's been an interesting 3 past years, but we've all got to come out of it and be a little bit more resilient and figure out how to get on, right? So,
exactly. That's
yeah,
right. And you've had lots of, yeah, COVID, I know for you was quite something. But before we get to that, Dawn, I have to ask you the question. The first question I ask all of my guests, and like I said to you backstage, you don't have to go back that far, but what did little Don want to be when he grew up?
well, I was trying to think back, and my wife very kindly said you wanted to be a comedian, and it sort of took me back to when I was in grade 1 or grade 2, and in North Vancouver, where I grew up, and it was a little sort of little area underneath the porch where you exited the school. And underneath that porch, it was all covered in. I decided I was going to put on a one-man show. And the one-man show got all the students around. And I don't know what the heck I was saying, but they were hugely intrigued and they stayed with it until the bell went, telling us all to get back to school after lunch. We were all late and I got penalized for it. I'm in grade 1 or grade 2. But knowing that I had that audience, knowing that I must have said something that kept them all from wanting to go back to school, I guess maybe that's why I thought maybe I'll be a comedian later in my life. I think I am a bit of a comedian at times, but I couldn't ever be successful doing it professionally. So hope that
What a
answers your
great
question.
story. Wow. That Geez, did life change for you at school after that performance? Were you like the popular guy after that, or were you
Well,
already?
I don't know. I was certainly in a lot of plays and musicals and stuff like that. I was Santa Claus in our grade 3 uh, Christmas thingy. And my greatest lines I had to say, and I was nervous. I just thought I might get them wrong, were ho, ho, ho. And I still remember getting up from, the picking out the presents out of the bag and standing up and looking at the audience with all my classmates around in their pajamas reading "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." And I was actually nervous, making sure that I got the 3 words ho, ho, ho out correctly.
That's great. So how did you go from being a comedian and an actor to ending up on Bay Street?
Well, I guess I knew
How?
that I wasn't going to make a lot of money as a comedian. I pretty well figured that out at an early age. So um,
Yeah.
I got very interested in the investment business, and I was quite young and had some connections. And we all know that connections really help. And so I started in the investments business and in the back office, where I really learned what, as some of my colleagues used to say, this is the heart of the business. And I gradually moved into the trading area, into the institutional sales area. And then when I left the business in the late 90s, I was the CEO of a Canadian run subsidiary of the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank. So it was fun. 30 odd years of doing well and raising our kids and experiencing life on Bay Street was pretty
Yeah.
exciting. Pretty exciting.
Gosh. So I'm curious to know, Don, like what you had to do in terms of education. Did you sort of work your way through that industry, or did you have to go to school for anything?
Lots of both, lots and lots of
Yeah.
courses, public speaking
Hmm.
courses, options exam, all sorts of different examinations, all sorts of, and the business was changing. The business continued to change. I mean, when I first started out, it was really just stocks and bonds, and later on there was derivatives and options, and so you always had to be sort of on top of that stuff. But
Hmm.
I say that the public speaking course that I took was probably one of the best. I was about 21 or 22, and I worked with, there was 20 other students, and we had an awesome teacher. But I'll never forget my final speech in front of all my colleagues and having to sort of make my mark so that I would get past this thing. And my subject was kids today
Oh,
and
wow.
how disruptive they are and how they have bad manners and they chew in front of their elders and they have just terrible manners. And so I read this passage and, everybody's sort of agreeing that, kids today are pretty disruptive. But that was from Socrates in 400 BC. so it,
Oh, great.
so it kind of said nothing's changed, right? And
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. Oh,
So
that's
yes,
great.
I kept learning
Yeah.
and learning and learning, but I'd say a lot of it was osmosis as well.
Yeah. I find that so interesting because, I think with like years of experience in the workplace, for you, for me, it's there's a different experience. Like I was in the corporate world for 18 years and I was able to come out of high school and move my way up the ladder with very little education. Whereas today it seems that, you know, kids, they have to go to university to do these types of jobs. But for us in that era, it was sort of like a new adventure where we were learning by the way of doing, you know? So
Well, you know,
that's why I was asking that question, like, how
yeah.
far did you have to go down the education road?
Well, one of my goals was definitely not to get the golden watch when you serve 25 years. I
Yeah,
did some changes in the industry, but you know, you're touching on something that I think has come back today, and I'm optimistic for young people because I think the messages are coming out. Even our provincial government recently announcing a technological credit for grade 9 students starting in September of 24 means it's not always university that's going to help you succeed. There's all sorts of other exciting opportunities out there. And the most important thing, in my opinion, is you've got to find something that's going to make you happy. And you don't necessarily have to go get a degree to make you
that's
happy.
right.
There's apprenticeships available, there's trades, there's just everything that's happened, and particularly post COVID, I think that's just going to open a huge number of doors for kids that are
Yeah.
starting to dream now about their futures.
Yeah, and it's great. There's so many kids who are actually creating their own jobs, you know?
So, yeah,
They're creating things on, you know, online that are paying them. And yeah, it's fascinating. So they've got their own adventures happening.
absolutely.
So Don, I want to know, like, with you being on Bay Street for 30 years, and then in the last 22, you entered the charitable sector. What prompted that? Why were you interested in that?
Well, I had to do something different, and I was with a friend of mine in his little investment management organization here in Oakville, and I was terribly bored. I used to tell people I read the Globe and Mail twice in the morning because it just didn't have the zing that I was looking for. And so I started to do some research on fundraising and how to fundraise and that sort of thing. And just by sheer coincidence, the head of the United Way of Oakville in those days and the mayor and a staff member with the United Way came in and knocked on my door because I have been involved in the community in different things, organizing. I was a co-founder of the Oakville Jazz Festival in 1992, and so you know, it wasn't that I wasn't involved in volunteer work, but I really wanted to learn about fundraising, and that coincidental visit from the mayor and the United Way executive and one of the staff when they asked me to help them with the leadership division of the United Way. And the leadership division is donations that were in those days of $1,000 a year. Today it's $1,200 a year. And so I asked her, how many leaders are there in Oakville? And this was sort of 1998. And she said 127. And I said, that's disgusting. I'll take the job. Of course, it was a volunteer job.
Yeah.
But it introduced me to the United Way, and I wasn't all that familiar with what the United Way did. I commuted into Toronto every day, and then I came home, and we had our kids. So, you know, you really didn't get to really know your community that well, and some of the needs and some of the services being provided. And so that was my sort of introduction to volunteerism in a major way, and then understanding my own community. And so just by coincidence, I got contacted by an organization to help raise some money for them. That one was successful. Then there was another one and another one and another one. And I didn't mention in my bio that I had the pleasure of working with an organization in Toronto called the Philip Aziz Center, which I started with them in 2002. And they were supporting families from endemic countries living with HIV/AIDS. Very volunteer driven, but they weren't doing much in the way of fundraising, and they needed some money to pay their staff and things like that. Well, that morphed into a dream by the executive director to open a children's hospice in the city of Toronto. And so she and I were tied at the hip for about 6, 7, 8 years, and we opened a children's hospice called Emily's House in Riverdale in 2015. Um, and it's celebrating its 10th anniversary. Sorry, 2013. It's celebrating its 10th anniversary this June. Um,
Wow.
and my job was to raise a bunch of money, so probably a total of in that period of time of around $9 or $10 million, including the purchase, including the acquisition of the home that we wound up putting the hospice at, and also renovating it and doubling the size of it, which was $7.5 million. So that's
Wow.
kind of where I got my feet wet. And then I started to do other contracts with other organizations. So it just led me, and quite frankly, Monica, getting people to buy stocks and sell stocks is kind of like asking people to donate money. Only the donating the money is much more rewarding. I'll be honest with you, right?
Yeah. Okay. I'm so fascinated by this, especially because of like those numbers are huge. And there's a lot of people in our community who are trying to raise money for different things. And so I find this like really inspiring. Before our discussion, I wanted to read to you. I went online and looked at something called the 4 T's of philanthropy, and they talk about the temple, the time, the talent, and the treasure. So they refer to the temple as you have to start with taking care of yourself first, like that whole, thing about giving the oxygen mask to yourself and then assisting
Right.
others. So that's like number one, having the time to provide what's needed. Um, they said everybody has a talent, you just have to kind of hone in and see what that is and see how you can use that talent to help others. And then they talk about the treasure, which is the money part, but the treasure can be any amount of money. It's whatever you can do. So for you, going through these 4 T's and raising that amount of money, um, how did you do that? How did you sort of gain that confidence? And I know you had work experience there, but to kind of really hit those high numbers, because I think that's what a lot of small businesses we kind of struggle with is we cap out at a certain amount, and it's like, how do you get to that next level to help people, Is there a
Well,
magical
I,
formula you have, Don?
I don't know. I don't know about a magical formula. I think, I've always believed that good eye contact, and if you're passionate about something, it has to come from the heart. And if
Yeah.
you look at somebody and they know it's coming from the heart, it's going to be a lot easier to be successful. I've had lots and lots of donors over the years. Some have been with us, organization, the Art House, since 2009, and I constantly thank them. Every time I see them, I write notes and things like that. Uh, and there's lots of people out there who are afraid to fundraise, and I respect that. You touched on another little piece of that. It's participation. So if it hurts when you give $100, that's good. If it doesn't hurt until you give 100,000, that's good too. And so you have to sort of understand that it's about connections. It really is about connections. Cold calling is not a lot of fun. So it's something that maybe there's some osmosis in there too that can help you successfully fundraise. Uh, don't throw arrows at things. When you're, like, just don't throw an arrow and expect a reward. You've really got to zero in on is there a match here? Is there a potential match? Um, do we have common things, things in common that we were both respect? I mean, some of the donors, they may not be interested in the arts. They may be interested in supporting hospitals and stuff like that. So maybe you talk to them down the road, maybe when they've got tired of supporting a hospital or something, and you come back to your thing. But I think it's really, there is something about targeting different people, and that sort of thing. And I think it's just a talent you inherit, or you don't inherit, but you grow with it, right? I hope that's helped.
Yes. Yeah, that's great. And yeah, and I can imagine your network of people who you've met over the years is quite phenomenal.
It's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
that's
I always
great.
used to tell my kids, when you uh, look them straight in the eye, always give a firm handshake, and try not to make them annoyed at you because you never know when they're going to come back and help you 25 years from now.
Yes,
Right?
good.
Because
That's
people don't
great
forget.
advice because 25 years goes like that.
You got it.
Yeah.
So does 50.
So, Dawn, the awards that you've received, these are amazing. Can you tell us about your Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal and what that it was for and what it's all about?
Well, I think there were 60,000 Canadians that received it in 2012, and um, I was very fortunate to be supported by our MPP in those days, Kevin Flynn in Oakville, and so he was the guy who I think selected about a dozen people to receive that. So I think
Yeah.
just being recognized for my work in the community and maybe a little bit of ArtHouse, but I think over the years I've been hugely involved in a lot of different areas of our community in terms of volunteerism and things like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lovely tribute to I guess the stuff that I've been doing. Right?
Yeah. Great. Yeah, that's so congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really extraordinary. Um, so in all of your years working in philanthropy, can you tell us, I mean, we can actually go to this after if you want, because I do want to talk about Art House and how that all came to be. But I wondered if there was like one amazing experience that really sticks with you of all of the people that you've helped. Was there ever something that was,
Well, maybe going back to the hospice, just lining up all the people that got involved in making that happen uh, was pretty special for me. Working so closely with the executive director, who was just extremely special, uh, really had this dream and wanted to achieve it. And there were times when I think she was ready to tear her hair out because of frustrations. The site was in the city of Toronto. Actually, I don't know you're familiar with the Don Jail in Riverdale,
yeah.
but this was the governor's mansion in front of the Don Jail that the governor of the Don Jail lived in the 1800s. So it was a heritage home,
Mhm.
and we were first in line to get this house given to us for $1 for 50 years. Of course, we had to spend $7.5 million to make it sure it was going to function as a hospice. But I would say that that moment when we got the call, I also had a friend, a very generous friend, couple who contributed almost half of the $7.5 million to really secure our place in making sure that this happened. So those two things ring at me, just the fact that we got the house given to us. And there were probably 49 other charities that would have loved to have had it. But because we had a connection to the city of Toronto, we were first in line. And it's celebrating its 10th anniversary, as I said, and there's a big celebration coming up towards the end of June, which I'm attending. And so that kind of is a hugely pivotal point in my life in terms of a success story, right?
Yeah. Gosh, that's amazing. I know where the Don Jail is, and I know about River. My mom actually went to Riverdale Collegiate. So,
Perfect.
yeah,
So it's right
she,
next door
I,
to the library, right next door to the library on Gerard, corner of Gerard and Broadview.
that's all right. Sorry, Don. I just joked. So,
you're, you're so moved
while
by
I'm
that
choking,
conversation.
yeah, I am. While I'm choking, I'm gonna mute myself. Can you tell us all about Art House?
Great, I'd love to. So part of my work with the United Way gave me an opportunity to really find out what the needs are in our community. I learned more about just who was being served, how they were being served, and there were some missing pieces. And I've done a lot of research on the arts. Obviously, wanting to be a comedian when I was 6 years old kind of guided me to stay of an interest in the arts. But the research told me that arts is vital in every human being. And we all need a bit of that. We all need to have some physical activity. But arts are not inside of you to be for you to become an artist. They're for you to build your confidence, to unleash your creativity, to help you with your resilience, to help you with your eye contact. Just a number of things. All the skills you can learn. The arts sometimes can help you do better in other subjects. And all of that research said to me, boy, there's a whole group of people in our community and all of Halton missing out on this because their families can't afford it. So that's what led me to create ArtHouse back in 2009. I actually had some friends, had a bunch of workshops in late 2008 leading up to this creation of the organization. And we incorporated in June of 2009, and we became a charity in early 2010. And it was really trying to sort of find children whose parents, and often single parents, just couldn't afford anything in an extracurricular way. So these poor kids are coming home from school, and just needed something else to motivate them. And so we started our first program in Oakville in the summer of 2009, and that led to two later in the fall of 2009. And this year, I think after COVID's over, we'll be back to around 86 programs this year, this fiscal year, which ends in June. So you're right, it's over 700 programs over the last 14 years. And we've served over 10,000 kids throughout Burlington, Oakville, Milton, and in some cases up in Georgetown as well. All these kids
Incredible.
are the ages of between the ages of 7 and 17, and I would say that 98% of them very rarely have a chance to access any other extracurricular activity.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty awesome.
That's amazing. Do you
Yeah.
do you do you have a student in particular, or I shouldn't say a student, but somebody who's attended that you've seen sort of over the years really develop their art as a result of Art
Uh,
House?
yeah, well, one I can tell you that's developed her art um, because of us, and two others that are not in the arts, but I think we can take some credit for making sure they went down the right path.
Yeah.
The first one is a young girl by the name of Mackenzie, and she is now 21, I think. But she started us when she was about 9 or 10, and her mom was looking for something because Mackenzie was bullied at school. Um, she said, quote unquote, I just wanted to hide my head under a carpet because nobody liked me. And she was very gracious to do an interview with the Toronto Star in 2013, I think, and when we were working with the United Way, because we are a recipient of United Way funding, and she just let it all out and just said, if it hadn't been for ArtHouse, I'd still be under that carpet, bullied, told she wasn't very pretty, and things like that. Just mean things from peers, but hugely influenced her. Well, she was involved in a number of our music theater programs at Camp Art House, which we have at Sheridan. This year we're doing The Lion King, so we've done everything from Annie to The Lion King to the Jungle Book and things like that. And the kids are all stars on the stage, and Mackenzie was a star on the stage. So much so that she got enough confidence to actually go down to New York to Broadway and audition.
Oh,
Now, she was
amazing.
she was pretty sure she wasn't going to be successful, but the fact that she went down and auditioned was pretty awesome. And so we get a lot of credit. Art House gets a lot of credit for just putting her on the stage at her most
Yeah.
nervous state with all those butterflies and being able to stand in front of an audience and sing. So yeah, that's somebody, and she's pursuing her career in drama and the arts and things like that. So um, that's kind of cool. The other couple, they're
Don, I just want to say that story is so heartwarming. And also, I'm really enjoying how it's sort of coming back full circle to your story of being the little boy up on stage, entertaining everybody, and then pursuing, arts and drama in school yourself. It's kind of, you had that good feeling as a young man, and now through Art House you're passing that on to others. I mean,
I am.
I just I
The
love
only thing,
that connection.
thank you. The only thing I didn't do was go and audition on Broadway. I would have been a disaster.
Oh,
The other
yeah,
couple, and I just spoke with one of them yesterday. They're
yeah.
now sort of 19 and 20. But when they were 7 and 9 years old, they lived in a subsidized community in Oakville. We had a program in partnership with the YMCA of Oakville, and they were very shy, very quiet, and they sat in the middle of the floor. And we were working with Food for Life in those days, and Food for Life provided all the snacks and stuff like that. Um, they asked if they could take the food that was left over home.
Oh, wow.
So very shy, asked if they take the food home, and we had this musical program that we did at the Y, and one of the instructors was a musician who played the didgeridoo. You're familiar with the
Oh,
Australian didgeridoo,
yes.
and
Yeah.
so the kids were really intrigued with it. This fellow would play it and entertain the kids, and so the instructor said to me, "Do you think we could buy 25 didgeridoos for our kids?" And I said, "Not in your life." I said, "You know how much those things cost?" So somebody said, "Well, if you go to a lumber store and ask for some PVC piping and you get them in 3 foot
Ah,
lengths, they could sound just like a didgeridoo." So off I went to my favorite builder and a friend of mine, and he donated 25 3 foot long PVC pipes. And one of those two, Jeremy, the male, started playing this PVC pipe like it was a didgeridoo. And the next thing you know, he's walking down the aisles of the Y in Oakville with about 10 of our kids behind him, and they're all playing it. So he's like the Pied Piper, right?
oh,
So you see this transition from being hugely shy to
yeah.
all of a sudden, leading kids. Well, then he's at a camp. He's one of our camps at Sheridan, and he asks our choreographer, he said, "I got a didgeridoo for my birthday. Do you think it'd be okay if I brought it to camp next week?" And so Shona said, "Absolutely." So then he comes with his didgeridoo, and Shona introduces Jeremy. He's going to play his didgeridoo, and he performs a couple of songs, and then when he's finished, he looks at all the kids and he says, "Now, do any of you have any questions about this instrument?"
Oh,
So you,
wow.
so you can see this transition of confidence, right? This
Yeah.
feeling that I can do anything in front of people. I spoke with him yesterday, just catching up on him, and because I haven't spoken for maybe a year. He works at a bar called Dave and Buster's. He's a bartender, and he's been there for a year. And he says, "I'm having the best time of my life." And I said, "Well, I might just come in and ask you to pour me a Moscow Mule." He said, "Well, I make really good Moscow Mules." And then his sister
Oh,
is also, she's doing well. She's out in the West, out in Lake Louise, about to go to Banff, and she's in the food service industry.
yeah.
The, 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 the other piece of this is how they could have gone down the wrong road. Their older
Mhm.
brother was in and out of jail for a period of around 10 years, as a mid-teens right into his mid to late 20s, and a lot of crime, a lot of bad stuff in this family environment. There they
Mm.
were, surrounded by this guy. Unfortunately, he died about 3 years ago. But you think, had they not had these role models outside of their family, who
Yeah,
knows what road they could have gone down. So
right.
neither of them
It,
are
it's
artists, but they took what we offered them and benefited by it, I believe. And they credit us with a lot of the success in their lives.
yeah, I think that's amazing. And it's so powerful how, like, as you say, that's all that kids need is just to be outside of that family unit, to see something different, to have an opportunity. And there's like generational trauma that can be stopped and not repeated. And they find a new way. They see themselves as leaders and change makers, and
Eventually,
it's
yeah.
really powerful. Yeah.
We have another young
Yeah.
guy in Burlington who's 14 and really, really lovely guy. Three siblings, younger, all younger. Um, some problems in the community they live with, the mom, and financial issues all the time. And this young guy is he's so confident. And my colleague says, he's so confident he could go down the wrong road. And because you get confident, you could be a bad person with so much confidence, right?
Yeah.
But when you look at him and you just see him in action with us, you just know we are a huge influence on making sure he goes down that right road. Take all that confidence with you and then turn it into something special. And we are convinced that he will. So yeah, we're
Great.
pretty proud of the work we're doing.
Yeah. So what sort of support like do you offer the kids at Art House? Like when they come to camp, like if you have a very troubled child, let's say, who doesn't want to participate or who's just struggling, I guess your counselors and the people there are prepared to kind of work one-on-one with kids as well if needed, or
If
how does
needed,
that?
yeah. We've had a number of kids on our camp, for example, because we have about 50 kids on the stage. It's over a 2 week period. It's all day, and some of them are scared stiff to even go on a stage. Some of them who were scared stiff on day one become little stars on day 14. Others, we just know that there's going to be some resistance, and maybe there's some slight mental health issues and things like that. Well, we'll give them a role backstage. We'll make sure that they
Mhm.
feel as important at the front of the audience, seeing the audience, or behind the scenes, and we'll make sure that they all get recognized. So um, yeah, we'll do some one-on-ones at times. It's tough to try and do that because there's just my three colleagues and our instructors, and we we don't provide therapy. We
Mhm.
can't do that. We really are an arts-based organization, and using the arts as sort of a catalyst to help these kids with all those things I mentioned earlier, confidence. So,
Yeah.
but we definitely have had the odd one-on-one situation where, we've dealt with it. We've talked to them,
Yeah.
and one of our instructors, Stephen, is very open about the anxiety he suffers very, very often, and
Mhm.
talks to them about his own sort of mental health issues. And sometimes that can break the ice between one of the kids that we're supporting and the peers that he's working and the people that he's working with.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, that's great. So compassionate, eh?
Yeah.
That's what you need. So the art programs that you have sort of happening throughout the summer, can you tell us a little bit about what those programs are? You've got your theater, and then you guys do a whole bunch of great stuff in the community too, in terms of like picking up garbage and using it for
We had a
art,
great,
right? Yeah,
absolutely. Well, there was
yeah.
an education in that too.
Mhm.
Couple of years pre-COVID, we had the kids pick up some garbage at Sheldon Creek, just west of Burloak. Um, a massive amount of garbage, and we were looking for the recycled stuff, but everything was counted: the cigarette butts to the broken glass to the beer caps to just about anything. But
Mhm.
a lot of that was recovered, and they worked with one of our awesome instructors, and they created different art. They made fish out of pop bottles, out of plastic pop bottles. They had all sorts of different caricatures, and that wound up being such a cool project that the Burlington Council chambers, just outside the chambers in that entranceway,
Yeah.
uh, our kids were able to show the exhibit, and it was there for
Oh,
2 months. And it was
wow.
also sort of statistics on single-use plastics and the dangers around single-use plastics. So there was an education there as well as the opportunity to create art. We've also had kids do paint pollinator canoes to become pollinator gardens. So these
Right.
are canoes that we've been very generously given by the RBG. These are canoes that won't float anymore. And rather than sending them off to landfill, they get diverted from that and they come to us and our kids get involved in the creation of painting the actual outside of the canoe.
Mhm.
And then it goes to a site and it gets placed in that site and it gets filled with earth. And indigenous plants get planted in, and we get our plants from the Six Nations, the Kayanasi greenhouses in Brantford, and it turns into a pollinator garden, brings back the bees and the butterflies and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's not just the creative part; it's also the educational part on just what we can do to help increase, improve the environment. So those sort of
That's
things.
so lovely.
Yeah, it's been pretty
Yeah.
special. And some of those canoes are all, I mean, there's a number of canoes. There's a couple of them in Milton. There's one outside of our town hall in Oakville. There's one at 356 Burloak, which is part of their community garden. And
Yeah.
we've got more coming. We just put one in Suncor's property on Rebecca just last week.
Oh,
And
great.
yeah, so their staff
Yeah.
filled it with earth and put some plants in. And so
Perfect.
that's been pretty cool as an educational project. And often we've used indigenous artists to come and help us describe, because the canoe has got a long, long, long history. And so it's an
Mm.
educational piece for our kids as well to learn just a little bit about the medicine wheel and all the different aspects of indigenous life and things like that. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously,
It's
the music theater programs, we do improv programs. We do urban dance workshops with kids. Obviously, visual arts, lots and lots of different visual arts, mosaics, and just regular painting. Um, we've been really successful with cooking programs. In fact, we got a cooking program at a place called Next Door Social on Plains Road, um,
Mhm.
a few kilometers west of Maple. And we had one last night with a chef. So a professional chef comes out and works with the kids, and they'll do anything
Great.
from pizzas to cinnamon rolls or whatever. They're
Yeah.
there for 2 hours. So, and there's an education there too about healthy eating and recipes and things that kids
Yeah.
can go home and teach their moms how to cook or something like that, right?
Exactly. So important.
Yeah.
Wow. This is so great, Don. So, for people who want to help out with Art House, make donations, they can go to your website to do that, or
They can
what's the
absolutely
best
go to
way
our
to?
website. Yep, that's probably the
Yeah.
easiest way. It's our website. It's arthousehalton.com. There
Mhm.
is a donor section there. In fact, we're just we're halfway through a campaign. It's our summer camps campaign. And yesterday I sent a blast out that we'd raised $15,000. And then the Leggett Auto Group just announced 2 to 3 days ago that they were going to support us with a $5,000 matching challenge. So
Mm,
really,
great.
really, yeah, thank the Leggett Auto Group in Burlington and Brian Leggett and his team for supporting Art House. They've done that now for about
Yeah.
3 or 4 years. So we're so
Wow.
grateful to them, but I'm hoping that the 5,000 will turn into 10,000 and we'll almost
Yeah.
complete our $30,000 our goal, because we've got a lot of other programs going on in the summertime as
Yeah.
well.
So great. And I also wanted people to know, um, those of you who are watching who follow my business, Glam Jewels, we've been working for the last 2 years to raise money because we want to do a canoe project with Dawn and with the students. And if you go on our website on glamjewels.com, you'll see a banner where you can buy a lovely necklace and help support Art House. And when we've raised the funds, I'm going to come out and paint with the kids. So I'm very excited about that. So we'll
All
have to
right.
talk about that offline. But yeah,
We are
yeah,
too. And I did
yeah.
buy a necklace, I think, very early in that
You did.
conversation, right?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not wearing it today, but I could later.
I love it. Oh, it's so great. I think it's amazing what you're doing. And yeah, I was going to say to people as well, if anybody has a canoe that they want to donate, reach out and let us know because I would
Absolutely.
love one for my project. You probably could
Well, we
use
have
them
we
at
have
any
four
time, right?
we have four in
Okay.
that we so the Royal Botanical Gardens donated five to us. One of them
Oh,
recently
good.
got used, and there is a home for all four of them, Monica.
Yeah.
But I can
Yeah.
promise you, we will make sure you get one. Okay, so
Oh, okay. Amazing. All right. We're gonna have to book a date then to
yeah,
get
for
this.
sure.
Yeah. Beautiful. Don, thank you so much. I wanted to just let you know. So, Melanie Josephs, you know the Josephs family. Melanie's
Yes.
mom's Stelma, and you knew
Yeah.
Gus. Um, Melanie's on here listening, and her question is, what is the greatest impact you've had in your philanthropic work? So, if you could do one thing, what do you think?
Well, eh, I guess I look at what we're doing here, and I could say we've served 10,000 kids, um, 10,000 participants. So that may mean one person who's attended like 20 programs. So it's 10,000 participants. But, you know, if you look at the individuals we've supported, it's probably around 6,000 of those 10,000, the individuals who've been with us over the 14 years. And I think, you know, those moments, it's not about the numbers, it's not about the total, it's about each person that we can tell a story about. And, you know, there's probably a dozen or more of those stories, and I shared two of them with you. So the impact, I think, is just knowing that we've changed a life, or we've motivated a change in somebody's life. Uh, we've made them happy. They step out of their homes for an hour and a half with us a week, and they feel good. Even during COVID, when we were doing online programs, uh, the kids couldn't wait to get out of school. They hated, in a lot of cases, having to do their online stuff, but they couldn't wait to come and be part of our
Yeah.
programs. So
Yeah.
I don't know whether that answers the question is,
Yeah.
you know, zeroing in on something, but I would say it's a multiple thing. But
Yeah.
individual support is so important for us, and you know, we've got lots and lots of great stories to talk about. Lots of kids that we're supporting. My colleagues and I are back and forth texting virtually every day, and I hear stories
Oh,
about individuals and things like that. So yeah.
yeah, so great. And also, for anybody who wants to, look at sort of what's happening at Art House, your Instagram page is really great, at keeping us up to date with what the kids are up to. And
I know. I'm
it's
really appreciative
really
of
well.
Mark Shiz, CM2 Media is our
Okay.
brander. And we got to work with Mark when we revitalized our brand back in 2019, late 2019, which was very fortuitous because, as we know, 6 months later, we got hit with COVID. Um,
Yeah.
and we changed everything, and it included taking up business accounts with Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And
Yeah.
Instagram is by far the one we use most. And so he's creating these videos for us, and there's a slogan almost every other day. But you're right, we're getting the messaging out there, and we really appreciate that partnership with him.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Don, thank you so much. I love chatting with you today. Is there anything else that you wanted to highlight or before we sign off or
Well, just to say thank you so much for allowing me to be with you, and Burlington is hugely important to us, as is Oakville, and there's
Mhm.
so many needs in each of these communities, although sometimes, you know, we don't see them, right? But
Yeah.
there's lots and lots and lots of need. And there's equally need up in Milton and up in Georgetown. But the benefit we have in Oakville and Burlington is that there are a number of subsidized communities that we are very actively working in. That's not the case up in Milton, where poverty is more spread across the community. Poverty is spread across both Burlington and Oakville, but we do have an opportunity to work in some of these special communities. So I thank everybody in Burlington for supporting Art House the way they've supported us, and because they're very similar communities in a lot of ways. And so I'm just proud of everything we've done. I've got three phenomenal colleagues as my
Yeah.
Art House team. Um, and of course, we go out and hire uh, artists, and the artists kind of thing we say about the artists is you're good at what you do, but you also know how to bring out the best in kids. And we've got a team of
Oh,
those kind of people supporting our team, and then supporting all these wonderful kids that we get to see weekly, sometimes daily.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So great. Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you, Dawn, for sharing all of this information and your story. I think it's amazing what you've done from that little boy with all your people around you.
You got it. I'm still a little boy at heart, you know.
Exactly. We don't change from that. That's
I
the
can't.
true essence of the person, I always think,
You got it. You
that
got it.
little one. Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate this, Monica, as you know, and look forward to getting together. And to all the Josephs, hi. I haven't seen you for a long time, but great, great memories. So there you
Oh,
go.
that's wonderful. Thanks, Dawn. I'm going to
Right.
just put you in the virtual green room and I'll be right back with you.
Okay, doke.
Okay. Thank you all so much for tuning in today to listen to Dawn's story and hear all about ArtHouse. What an amazing organization. And at Glam Jewels here, we are really proud to be supporters and to be raising money to help do this canoe project. So if you're interested, please go to our website, glamjulz.com, and grab yourself one of our necklaces in support of ArtHouse. Also, go check out Brenda Badome at brendabadome.com. Use the coupon code Get to Know Them for 22% off of your order. Keep on showing the world your sparkle. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you back here next week with another amazing guest. Bye for now.